Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Really excited to talk to my guest today, David Hernandez. David, great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Greg, for having me.
Awesome. I'm glad we managed to coordinate time zones in the end. A little bit awkward with me in Australia. And where are you, David?
I'm in Texas, Houston, Texas.
Awesome. Okay, all right. So we've really gone global today. We'll have listeners in US, UK, and Australia. So, David, would you like to give us a bit of an introduction on what you do, what your company is, all of that sort of stuff?
David Hernandez. I am the managing director of North America for LecoSoft LLC. And LecoSoft, our parent company, is actually based out of the UK. Parent company is Leco, but we provide software for basically the built environment. So our primary software is its core for planning and scheduling, but we offer estimation tools, we offer asset management. So there's a plethora of things that we do. But my core focus in the U.S. is growing our construction planning and scheduling, and we have a little bit of maintenance and maintenance as well. But
Perfect.
been with the company about 2.5 years. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Really look forward to diving into what your company does and some things we can learn for construction. I love tech. I love the way AI is going. I think it's like a really exciting place to be at the moment with the way things are moving. So to have a conversation like this is exciting because I just think sometimes we can be a little bit like dinosaurs in construction where we're a little bit slow moving on the tech side and it's just all there, isn't it, to make our life a lot easier. We'll jump into all of that. Maybe first of all, David, tell us a little bit about your story, how you got into construction, what got you into this space, because I think it's always interesting to hear someone's background.
Yeah, so I grew up in a family of blue collar workers. My father actually still to this day still works, does HVAC and refrigeration. Uncle who was a carpenter. So I very young was on the job sites, free labor. Fell in love with carpentry. So I kind of a little bit of a journey through school where my brother and I would do some side jobs, and we actually turned that into a little side company, doing some remodeling. But of course, my parents were go to school. Don't we want you to be a doctor, lawyer, summer? Construction, I just enjoy it. So I didn't go into the construction sector early, but I did sell to it. Started in sales and marketing, helping construction companies get their message out. Then through that, actually met a gentleman who was trying to grow a residential construction company here in Houston. I had a lot of commercial construction contacts. So he was trying to get into that sector. He and I joined forces, and we actually grew our company exponentially over about a 2 year period. It's right before Hurricane Harvey hit Houston. So we had a residential and a commercial sector. We fell into a sweet spot in the commercial piece. We just really started exploding. But so we'll talk a little bit about that challenge because I didn't have technology. We didn't have the right stuff and right processes in place. And we joked and said we made mistakes with zeros. Well, I ended up selling my partnership and thought I would retire and go fishing. My wife said, no, you're going back to work. So I actually fell into the tech side. I went to work for Viewpoint, who was later purchased by Trimble, which is well known in the tech world. From Trimble, moved to a small startup and did some safety. I was head of sales for a startup safety app, and then now running North America for a legal song. So it's
Fantastic.
a
Yeah.
little bit of a journey.
Yeah, it is a journey. And I think it's really interesting to hear that because you're coming at the tech side from someone who's experienced the pain of having a business that's grown rapidly and not had the tech in place. So has that shaped your decisions to get into tech? Is that what moved you into that space?
Yeah. When the opportunity presented itself, I thought it was brilliant because, like you said, I saw some of the things that were lacking. Now, when I got into tech, I wanted to dive right in and understand the technology. But my director at the time was like, David, you understand the industry. Go talk to the people. Go talk construction. And I was actually one of the first hires within that organization that hired from construction because they typically hired tech sales people. And so the conversations were just fluid. It was, I understand the pain that you're dealing with. Oh, actually, I had a superintendent that had the owner walk on a job site and they did a change order that cost us 25 grand and we didn't get a record of it. So we lived through that. So it was a way for me to still help an industry that I love without wearing the hard hat, but really have an impact. Just, you don't realize how much it impacts a business across all employees when things fail. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, for sure. In your experience, then, obviously, you've had your own business and now you're working with multiple construction companies and seeing some of the things that they're going through. Tell us what you think the core problem is in the construction industry today. What are you seeing time and time again?
Man, There's a couple I think that stand out. And so we talk about from my perspective with my sales team, I talk about three things: people, process, technology. So let's take technology completely off the table. And I think people and processes are probably the most important things. And processes is probably the one of the places where things get disconnected. And I think in construction, it's mainly reactive versus proactive. And so it's how do you get ahead of a problem? And I think that's where, for me, I saw an opportunity for technology to come in and start like helping people make decisions versus chasing fires. When you walk onto a job site, regardless of the size of your business, it's like constant chaos, right? From the time you step on the job site to the even sometimes even after you leave the job site, your phone still rings. And so I think if I had to pick two, I would say processes, being disconnected and reactive, and then data. So that's that you mentioned AI, and I'm sure we'll kind of get a little bit deeper on that. There's so much information that we have, but it's everywhere. It's disconnected. It's in silos. It's in a folder on my superintendent's desk, or the PM has it in a spreadsheet. There's no way to bring it all together. And then you have an industry that, even if you and I worked in the same company, maybe our terminology is different. And so you have different terminology. So it's just so many different things in that silo of data that it's a challenge. But I think we're trying to fix it. And I think people are recognizing it. So I do see it, see a shift. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely being recognized. I think most people who have tried to scale a company up realize very soon that if they don't have those processes in place, you're scaling chaos, aren't you? And that's really tough to deal with as a business owner. And then you just lose money. The team gets disconnected. It can be pretty painful, really. Why do you think, just from a personal perspective, why do you think some are really slow in adopting technology in construction? What do you think the problem is?
So I'll challenge that thinking a little bit, only because I agree to an extent, but what I saw around 2015, 2016 from friends of mine who were in the industry and even what was happening, they bought a bunch of technology. They were buying stuff. Now the problem was they were buying point solutions that didn't really talk to each other. So they weren't necessarily not adopting technology. They didn't understand the right technology. And so construction, I think what happened is they bought all this technology and now they're like, what do I do with it? They're hiring directors of innovation and directors of technology are coming in and trying to figure out how to connect everything. So I think they've been trying to sort through that mess. Now they're like, so now it's coming back up. So now I think you're seeing this acceleration in technology and construction, not only on the buying side, but the development and what's happening with some of the tech out there. So I do agree that there are some that are slow. You definitely have your early adopters and you have your laggards because people want to see, okay, how's this going to work out? But I think they've been burned, and so you get tech fatigue. And not to get long-winded on you, but so I was at the DCW, which is the technology show there in London. I was there with our CEO and some of the other leadership team, and I said, "So I want you to look around. What do you see?" It was busy. It's like people, I'm like, but it's a lot of people, right? You have 100 or more vendors here. You have 1,000 people walking around. As people walk by, vendors are saying, "Hey, look at my technology. Buy this, buy that," and it's just chaos and all this stuff. I said, "This is what our customers are facing every day. Every day, they're getting phone calls, they're getting emails. They're what technology do I buy?" So I think, and I said, so as a software company and as a developer, like we need to help bring that noise down. And it's not always easy. So we have to make buying technology, not even just our technology. I think we have to play nice with others, easy. And it, it sounds easy, but it's such a difficult process. But anyway, my point was like, it's a lot of information out there. So
Yeah, there really is. I think you said it right earlier when you said that some people have been burned, especially the early adopters, because I think you get a lot of companies that invest thousands into putting a piece of technology into the company and then no one follows it or they don't integrate it the right way and then it works for a little bit and then it breaks and doesn't work anymore and it can be really costly if the wrong choice is made. So I think you're right there with people getting burned
yeah,
and
yeah. Sorry, it's a process piece, right? That information in is information out. So if you have a bad process, just because you digitize it doesn't make it a good process. Like still a bad process. And sometimes technology highlights even how bad the process is. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're completely right. Yeah. So this is something we talk about all the time, actually, is that get the if before you implement the tech, let's make sure your processes are working right first. Have you actually got a process at all that technology can then automate or replace? So yeah, without a doubt, that's important. I think even more so at the moment, but the confusion is arriving because of AI and some of the tools that are coming out now. It's just this bombardment of we can do this and we can do that. How are you finding that space at the moment with some of the AI tools? Because I don't know how you find it, but I'm finding that the more we're testing, the more I'm realizing some things are okay, but it's not quite what it promises to be often. And you can go waste a lot of time going down a rabbit hole and you think that's not actually delivering what I was expecting it to. How are you finding that in your space?
So that's the AI world is becoming that the kind of the new integration bad word. So everybody wants to talk about AI. And I was at a conference in Austin, Texas at the end of January. It was the AI and data transformation. They had some executives from large construction companies and small construction companies. The one thing that was interesting, and I was a presenter there and there were other presenters there. One thing that was interesting is nobody's an expert. Nobody has this figured out. And so that was actually pretty enlightening. Like even some of the ENR top 25, they're still trying to figure it out. Now they have processes and things and they have resources that they're throwing at it. But my point to some of these executives and even some of the team leaders over there, I just asked a simple question. Talk to me about your KPIs. Like what are you measuring on a day-to-day basis for project delivery? And most of them could answer it, but there were some that couldn't. So I'm like, okay, so we can't even figure out a KPI question. So if we could get that solved, that would at least give us a starting point to then move to maybe business intelligence, which then becomes your data trends and history and that kind of stuff, which is a good place to be. And even maybe generate some machine learning off of that, that not necessarily is an AI predictive piece, but it definitely would give you some more insight. And so right now, the problem is we talked about the complexity, the kind of the segregated data. They don't have that visibility. And that is really the biggest challenge and the biggest frustration, quite honestly. And it was I think everybody came there to that conference like thinking they were going to solve the AI world. And what they came out was like, oh, we don't have this figured out. And so
Mm.
I do think there's a place for AI in construction. I know it's not going to replace the world. We're already doing it. We're already doing quite a bit with technology and robotics and some other stuff. But I shared with them, I said, AI should be, in technology in general, should be very similar to autopilot in an airplane, right? The pilots still have to do the critical task of taking off, landing, and handling any emergencies in flight. The technology will do its work on these mundane, routine tasks that need to happen over and over. So technology should take that off of your superintendents and PMs, and so they can get back to critical thinking, building projects, worrying about their people. And I think that solves a lot of stuff even on the people side. And
Mm.
so when you can step back and think about, can we do that without AI? I think we do. I think we already have some solutions in place. Part of that is, like I said, know what you're measuring, then getting into some type of BI type of reporting and data, and then you can start looking at what that those next step. But I think we're a little further away than people thought we were, and people will badge things AI. So I just would caution your listeners to like really understand the difference between what machine learning is, or even business intelligence data, versus what AI is. AI should give you scenarios like, Greg, if you continue to do this path, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, this is your outcome. So right now, that's being done by your project delivery team or your project management team. All they need is that data, and they can make those same decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, gathering the data is the foundation for all of it, isn't it? If you're getting the data in right, then the AI can then interpret that data and give you the scenarios. You can see how valuable that is going to be going forward, but it's just yeah, making sure that the input's right first of all. If you get the input wrong, you're gonna spit out rubbish, aren't you? Okay, tell us a little bit about how you make this easier then for the businesses you work with. So tell me a little bit about the technology that you recommend people install and think about for their business. Hey, can I just ask a quick favor? We're constantly trying to bring on the best guests on this podcast so we can deliver as much value as possible. But the only way we can do that is if we get more subscribers, more likes, more comments, and more reviews. So subscribe to this channel and click notifications so you know every time we've got a new video coming up. Give us a review if you're getting any value from it, and give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate that.
I won't self-plug very much, but I will share maybe some of the processing and what we've discovered. And part of that is, so our data capabilities manager who is driving our AI piece for us in our business, he had a mic drop moment because he shared about, I have a hard time talking to him because he makes me feel he's super smart. So I'm like, okay, I need to go back to school. This kid's super smart. But he just said, listen, if you want to get to your data, start planning in 4D. And so like that was like, okay, it sounds simplistic. And then you talk about 4D, people get a little nervous because they're like, okay, is it BIM? What is 4D? And 4D is basically just 3D modeling with time. So you basically have scheduling. And we're trying to position our product because we have an integrated 4D part of our planning scheduling tool. Is when we talk about it, people we're thinking about 4D, we just haven't really gotten there yet, or we're going to hire a BIM specialist. Our tool is designed where you don't need a BIM specialist. Like your planning team, your project delivery team can utilize it because it's integrated. But we're trying to change the mindset from a visualization tool where you would use it to show this really spectacular model that's finished to a production tool where we can all start with a 4D model. You and I now, because if we're sitting in looking at 2D plans and we're talking about this project, you're seeing something and I'm seeing something. Like we're probably close, but it's not the same visual. But if you're looking at the same model and I'm looking at the same model, now we're starting with the same vision in mind, and now we can plan with a little more simplicity. And then you also have the data in the 4D models is typically more standard than when we talked about, like your terminology and my terminology would be on the same company in two different project teams and have different terminology. Well, 4D starts to force some of that standardization. So then you're getting good data across all of your project teams and even maybe across other companies as well. So I would encourage builders, whether you're small, medium, large, you're looking to complete, like check out 4D. It's not as scary as you think. There are some very complex tools out there. I'm not saying dive into Revit and try to design something, but I'm talking about pulling that file out, putting it in a program. So for us, we can actually take an IFC file, import it into our software, and it will actually create a start to finish schedule within a few minutes. And then the scheduler gets to come in and do their magic. And so we don't need you to necessarily understand how to design it. We just need to understand how to build it. And if you understand that, then you can schedule it. So you'll get long-winded on this, sorry, but yeah, I think
no, that's good.
Let
Let me just break that down a little bit more because I just want to be really clear for our listeners what it is exactly that it does, because 4D might be a new concept for a lot of people listening to this. So I'm just going to come back one step and talk about it again. What we're saying here is that a contractor or a builder, when they receive a 3D design from an architect to price or a job that they've won, created by BIM, they can put that into your software and it's going to do an entire programming schedule. Is that what you're saying here?
So it'll be based on the data that's being built in that model. And so that data is getting more and more rich because designers know that this is probably being used with some type of software. So they need that data, the data sets there. And so that's also part of our education. But yes, you're absolutely correct. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So that would make things a lot easier for sure. Tell us more about that, the impact of that then when someone does implement 4D software and that maybe they've never used this before and now all of a sudden they're using it. How does that make the business run a lot easier, smoothly? What's the day-to-day impact of that?
Yeah. So we shared this with a few architects because they're the ones who usually typically speccing. We've shared it with some builders at some events and some presentations. And most of the time they're like, we'll ask the question like, how long would it take your planner scheduler to do that? And they're like, a couple days easily. And so I said, you just watch this do a start to finish schedule in about 3 to 4 minutes. And now, obviously, the larger and more complex, it's going to be a little bit longer. But the point is, if you get to that point, it's pretty quick. The other piece was what I shared, what we talked about. If you get your project teams, especially when you start talking about from design to pre-con to when you start to build, like all of them working on kind of that same mindset of having that model, you're starting to align and limit some of that chaos and the handoff that happens between departments, even in construction. So that obviously is going to improve efficiency. It's going to improve time. The other dilemma we have in construction is reliability. And most project breakdowns happen before they even get started. And that is whether it's, we're going off 2D and maybe I missed something or I'm a subcontractor and I really want this project. So maybe I will say, okay, I'll take a little bit less money and something gets circumvented in the project. That never happens. But so there's like certain things that happen in that pre-con, that buyout phase that may get missed. And when you start looking at we talked about that process, how can I make this process a little more seamless? That happens. If you're looking at it from a smaller builder perspective, you're looking at, okay, how do I start to get my name in the hat for some of these more complex projects? We grew pretty quickly And part of it was we had an in-house designer that could easily just whip up a 3D model for us on Revit. And it, he was acting, they were in, he just got out of school. So he was a really good guy, but it separated us from some of the other companies of our size because we weren't very big. And so I would say if you're trying to take that next step, like that's a way to start differentiating yourself from your competitors as well. And I've
Yeah,
seen companies grow that way.
yeah, just explain that a little bit more then, just so I understand the software fully. So let's imagine you receive a 2D project. Is your software able to turn it into 3D and then program it, or do you need 3D from the
You would need,
designers first?
yeah, you would need a 3D design. So yes, that is
Sure.
now that might be something down the line for us that we look at doing that. But you would need to bring in a 3D design.
Bring in a 3D design first. Okay. So just explain to me the how you're differentiating yourself. Once you've got that 3D design, how are you different then from a company that isn't potentially using your software? What would make you different?
So first of all, if you're coming at it from what we call active 4D, that production piece, your data standardized, you have more clarity. Our tool is already one of our USPs is ease of use. So you have a tool that now you can bring this file in. You have a tool that's pretty easy and complex. You can do a one custom home or a multi-million-dollar project, but it's also the visibility to the owner or the stakeholder or your customer, whoever that is. They want to see, they don't necessarily care about the tool. They want to see the progress and being able
Hmm.
to share that information. So within our tool, you have the ability to share progress, to deliver, whether you want to give them access to the schedule, which a lot of people don't, or you just want to deliver them some just business intelligence to show them here's some information. So that for
Hmm.
us, that's probably one of our biggest differentiators. But we're putting that in the hands of all builders, whether you're an E&R contractor or a single custom home builder, build one or two homes a year, and everybody in between. And we're not trying to price anybody out of the market as well. So we want to be able to provide a tool that's not going to, the bigger you get, the more we charge you. That's how this works. So
Sure.
we just
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're getting the information out to your team, to any other stakeholders that are involved as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So when you say the tool will initially help with the programming, how deep is that going? So are we just talking about timelines and project schedules here? Are we talking about material takeoffs and like how deep is the tool going with this?
So it's going to be so we'll do the takeoffs for you. That would be the estimation. We do have an estimation software that helps with that. But the planning and scheduling is 100% planning and scheduling. And we do differentiate between planning and scheduling because planning is broader and longer. So you can everything from the beginning of the concept to close out of a project. But then everything within project delivery. So resource management, material. If I want to look at resources across multiple projects, maybe I need to move some things around, quick and easy visibility there. You want to connect your field team, obviously, with your planning teams. It's not your super. So we have a field app that allows you to record progress and send it back to the office. And then, yeah, so we want to make sure that it's very easy, but everybody that's involved in that has access to it as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So we started this conversation initially talking about there's no point implementing tech without actually having the right processes in place in your business first. So how do you work with businesses then? Let's imagine, because each business is going to have their own processes and how they do things. Is this like a one size fits all, or are you bespoke? Is this software bespoke for each business that comes to work with you? How do you navigate that?
So we do pretty much. It's out of the box. It's big. So you get it all now, whether you utilize it all or not. But our process, because I come from this industry, like I said, I want to make sure that my team we're doing our part. So we talked about the three prongs, right? People, process, technology. So we're going to do a call with our prospects and talk about, okay, first of all, let's talk about if you have the right people in place because we can sell them a technology and they missing the first any one of those two and it's going to fail. So yeah, got a good team, perfect. But then we'll start talking about processes and the way the field does things versus the way the office does things sometimes are very different. And so we want to align on that and talk to them about how the tool will helps maybe standardize some of that so that it, you don't want to push workflows out and say this is the way you have to do it. So we do have some customization in there, but we have to have that conversation with how they're doing business.
Mm.
We'll do that. And then if everything fits, let's do a personalized demo based on what you need. So we'll show a demo and then so we want to align it. But once they buy the product, we don't want to just leave them. So we have our support staff, professional services. She comes from the industry. We're trying to hire people into our team that understand the construction world. So we try to partner along with them. But ultimately, if we find out in the first stage that this isn't a good fit, ultimately we'll hopefully we taught them something and maybe they taught us something. But and we're still helping the industry. We want them to buy something, but ultimately at the end of the day, help them as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, long term, it's got to work for both of you, isn't it? So, yeah, completely get why you take that approach. Any examples, David, that come to mind of maybe smaller businesses that you've worked with that have implemented this software and managed to scale up or anything? Any case studies?
So we have some case studies on some companies that have basically a couple different sizes. We have small, medium, and large. And what's interesting is you find that no matter the size of the company, they struggle with some of the same challenges. And so obviously, the bigger the company, you probably have a little bit more resources you throw at it. So we have a couple smaller companies that recently just joined with us, and they actually went so they have the data and analytics. They were having a hard time because it's a BI data, so they were having a hard time kind of understanding what they wanted. So we said, okay, let's do this for 30 days, and then we're going to check in with you at 45 and 60 and see what things change. And so we helped walk them through some of the things based on some of the conversations with like Megan, who does our support, who comes from the industry, some of our other experts that we have within the company, and our head of innovation spent 30 years in the industry. He actually had a conversation with them as well. And so within the first 2 months, they were up and running. They saw the efficiency improving. And now I want to say they've added another 10 licenses. They're growing. They're specializing in commercial fit ups. And now they're moving to some more ground up construction because now they have a tool that they're comfortable with the complexity of ground up.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's it's great to hear. I love a case study of hearing where it's worked really well for someone. So, if you were giving some practical advice to listeners on this podcast, maybe this software isn't right for them right at this point. It maybe it's going to be something that's for them in the next year or a couple of years, or it may be right for them now. What practical advice would you give for a company, maybe even before they approach you and talk about implementing a technology like this? What sort of immediate improvements should they be thinking about even without the tech?
So I would definitely make sure that they have an understanding of what they're looking for. And what I mean by that is a lot of times they'll visit with a sales rep and we're trying to sell them the world. So we're going to tell them all of the things that they want to hear. But if a customer doesn't really know what they want to do first, and it goes back to that KPI and conversation, what is the most important thing for you? So if you don't have your own processes internally, right, then how are you going to know if this technology is going to help you? I would say be leery of software companies that aren't willing to help you through that process. Like for us, I'm okay sharing what type of other technologies are out there, and maybe a full CPM type scheduling tool isn't what they need. Maybe they need something more of a lean planning tool, and that we don't do. And so I'll point them that direction. So I would say just do your homework. There's so much information out there, like that you can do a lot of stuff up front. I would also say don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to like that you're getting left behind. And because I think that a lot of times people are like, oh, I got to buy this. I got to be in technology. I got to do AI, or I'm going to get left behind. That's not the case. If you're going to, especially if you're scaling up, the sooner that you have things in place, the easier things are going to be as you get bigger. And think about when you buy something with scaling in mind as well. So that I would say that do your homework and think about how I want to scale in the future as well. Probably the two biggest ones I would say.
Yeah, yeah, valuable advice there for sure. So yeah, know exactly what you want out of it. Get your processes in place and do your homework. I think that's some good advice there for sure for anyone thinking about investing in technology at the moment. David, what would be next steps if someone was really interested in this? Maybe this is the exact tool that they're looking for and they're listening to this thinking, I've never heard of this and this is something I want to explore. Where would they go next to find out a bit more information?
So we have two really good sources. One's LinkedIn. We are Alicosoft. We actually have multiple regions. So you search Alicosoft and they come up with one in the UK and then ours in the US. And then also our website, which will be alicosoft.com. It's going to geotag you where if you're in the US or in the UK. Yeah, I would love to have a conversation with anyone as well.
Love it. Yeah, that's great, David. Any final words on anything you haven't said that you think is important to include before we wrap up? Any advice you'd give someone, maybe when you were running your construction business, something you wish someone had said to you
Uh,
back then?
yeah, I adopted a philosophy probably around 2021. It was like, control what you can control, right? And that's this, like I said, this world, you're in constant chaos prevention, and no, you're not alone. I guess in this industry, I know that it's very relationship driven, but it's very sometimes it's like we're all kind of really like huddled. We don't want to share. I would say I would encourage companies to talk to other companies, even if they're competitors. Know you're not alone out there, and reach out to people and get more advice. But yeah, control what you control always is easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure. That's no, I think that's really good advice. And just a good point about actually talking to your competitors. We actually run a community of a lot of construction business owners that they'll happily share what they're working on, what's working for them, what's not. Because we're not smart on our own, are we? We need a combined mastermind group, if you like, of people to bat ideas off of, and we all help each other and grow together. So I think that's pretty good advice to be able to do that. Appreciate those final words. Thank you, David, for your time on the call today. That's been quite insightful for our listeners. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg, for having me. Appreciate it.